The discrepancy was first noticed in a federal budget report from 2023, tucked away in a section on interagency transfers. $9 billion. This was the annual operating budget for U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. I call this Case 5, the immigration engine. Everything started by following that capital, which quickly branched into a massive, decentralized network of private contractors, data brokers, and tech startups. Most people see a border wall or a patrol vehicle and think of politics. But when you follow the money, you see something else. A self-sustaining financial engine fueled by immigration and producing power as its output. In early 2003, the American government underwent its largest reorganization since World War II. The Department of Homeland Security was formed amid acute national anxiety. Before this, immigration was handled by the INS, an agency often dismissed as slow and administrative, focused on processing rather than enforcement. The creation of ICE reshaped the system, combining investigative customs duties with immigration enforcement powers. Its goal was efficiency, and the agency quickly became a central component of national security, backed by public funds from the Treasury. Success was measured by growth and integration. Every new field office required securing a lease, hiring a facility manager, and arranging service contracts. The machine's architecture was laid one line item at a time. As operations scaled, logistics became friction. Managing thousands of people's food, healthcare, and security created burdens the government was not equipped to handle. The agency, designed to protect, had become a property manager. Look outward to private markets to offload the operational weight. The agency realized its largest operational burden, housing and processing people, could be privatized. Pragmatic in the short term, this moved risk to large-scale private prison corporations, which could scale rapidly. Contracts were drafted with a mechanism that became ICE's primary financial anchor: guaranteed minimums. The government agreed to pay for a set number of beds, whether occupied or not. In practice, this transformed the detention system into a futures market. ICE was buying permanent availability. If the beds remained empty, the Treasury lost money. This inverted the agency's logic. Effectiveness was no longer measured by the resolution of cases, but by the occupancy of infrastructure. The bed quota became a budgetary floor that no political cut could pierce without violating decades-long contracts. This created a financial floor for ICE, encouraged permanence, and tied the survival of rural towns to the facilities that employed most of their residents. The agency's power was now legal and economically anchored. Money flowed from the federal treasury to shareholders and local contractors. The bed quota guaranteed billions in revenue. Simultaneously, ICE shifted to the digital realm. Since government agencies face strict limits on collecting data on citizens, they bypassed the obstacle by becoming one of the largest customers for private data brokers. These companies purchase utility bills, lease agreements, and location histories that the government cannot extract directly. By processing this data through systems like Falcon, they turned commercial information into security intelligence. The agency subscribed to a digital map of private life, updated in real time by companies profiting from every query. It shifted from pursuing individual leads to constructing a comprehensive national map. The infrastructure was costly and hard to replace, and each software update or cloud subscription made ICE's footprint more permanent. The agency expanded its focus, using data to identify trends and patterns across the population. Data from police, state registries, and private brokers fed a cycle where each new record generated more enforcement, driving additional detention contracts and revenue. The system's incentives shifted from securing the border to sustaining the network. The consequences became clear. ICE's budget decoupled from migration trends. In the 2000s, even when border crossings were historically low, the budget kept climbing. Guaranteed minimums stabilized private partner profits, creating pressure on ICE to prioritize its own scale. Power was generated by the friction it was meant to resolve, performing exactly as the system's incentives dictated. Technology firms became the hidden beneficiaries of this cycle. ICE's funding now acts as a constant investment round for Silicon Valley. When the government pays for advanced biometrics or AI risk assessments, It is effectively subsidizing the research and development of tools that these companies will later sell to foreign governments and private corporations. The power is in the market cap of its contractors, whose growth is fueled by the structural permanence of the system. Tech companies became integrated into the feedback loop, building new modules, expanding service agreements, and adding biometric and AI-driven risk assessments. Federal dollars supported a specialized Silicon Valley sector, and every time an agent scanned a fingerprint in the field, it triggered a commercial transaction, turning enforcement into a billion-dollar force with individual political shifts secondary to procurement contracts and software capabilities. By 2024, the machine was too big to fail structurally. Defunding it would bankrupt towns, cancel tech contracts, and collapse vendor stock prices. Political debate stays at the surface, while ICE generates recurring revenue for a network of contractors and service providers. The agency operates through ongoing contracts, with money moving quietly through the system and embedding influence in the obligations it creates. Growth is supported by private sector scaffolding and federal funding, making the agency a permanent and integral part of the economy. Local economies, corporate profits, and federal outlays are intertwined. A funding cut wouldn't just slow ICE, but ripple through towns and tech firms, making the agency effectively untouchable. Its budget confirms centrality, but not popularity. This is how power becomes immovable, woven into paychecks and local economies. The data side is equally entrenched. Software for tracking individuals is shared across other government branches and private corporations, creating a digital infrastructure that touches almost every facet of modern governance. ICE subsidizes next-generation surveillance tools, creating a hidden dividend for the tech sector and shaping the capabilities of both private companies and public agencies. The power of a government institution is proportional to its integration with the private economy and its entanglement with local economic survival. Communities depend on its facilities for employment, tech companies depend on its budgets for R&D, and political actors find themselves constrained by the machinery they cannot dismantle. The agency's footprint is now structural, both socially and economically, with every policy decision reverberating through layers of private and public stakeholders. Oversight, once straightforward, has become a negotiation with an entire ecosystem of vested interests, each profiting from its continuity. A system where human lives, data, capital, and technology intersect in ways that make power resilient, self-reinforcing, and nearly untouchable. This was the Cash Files. Case is now closed.